Hi, this is Robert Rapier, and this is R Squared Energy TV, back from a 2-week hiatus. I had promised my family in the acknowledgments for my book that I would take them on a vacation once the book was finished, and so we just got back from an enjoyable week in California. First family vacation we've taken in several years, Universal Studios and Disney. Very enjoyable, but back to work this week. So, on this week's episode, I've got questions about falling oil prices and about what my business, Merica, is currently up to, what the status is. So, first question. I've heard some people saying that Obama has asked Saudi Arabia to increase output in efforts to lower crude prices for the upcoming election. Is there any merit to this? What do you think has caused the almost 30% drop in West Texas Intermediate over the last few months? So the last question, the drop in West Texas Intermediate, it's not all crudes are falling right now because there is a perception that the market is adequately supplied at the moment. So even Brent crude is falling. But for the past couple of years, and maybe it's been a little bit longer than that, there has been a wide divergence between most crudes and West Texas Intermediate. And that is because of the increased oil production coming out of the U.S. in the Midwest and North Dakota. It doesn't have ready access to market. It's constrained somewhat, and so it is sold locally in the U.S. in the continental U.S. at a lower price than market prices. And so that has contributed to the gap, the lower discounted price for West Texas Intermediate. But overall, I think the market sees that the oil markets are well supplied at the moment, and so that has had a moderating effect on prices. That's also consistent with my column this week, my Monday column, which was about my views on oil prices, which I think are going to be a little bit soft, probably at least for the next year or so. So about Obama asking Saudi to increase output, I think a lot of countries probably asked them to increase output in the face of the sanctions on Iran. And I don't remember reading specifically about the U.S. asking them, but I'm sure that they, among other countries, did. And Saudi does appear to be accommodating those requests. They have ramped up production from all accounts. And so it would not be a surprise if they had been asked to do that. Second question. A few people have asked what your personal and business status are. I found the following text indicated you were involved with several different companies some time ago. Can you please bring us up to date and generally state what progress has been made? So I will link to the text. It was an interview that I did where I talked about the company a little bit. Now the man that I work for is quite private, and so we don't say much about what we're doing. And I actually went and kind of talked to some people about what I could actually say. Some of the stuff is public. So we were involved with a company called Corin. I came to work here. It's almost been 3 years now, and my boss had been investing in Corin for the better part of a decade, and they were in the process of trying to start up their wood to fuel plant. And that startup took a very long time. In fact, when I first met him, I warned that I thought startup would take at least a year, and it took even longer than that. And there were a lot of issues, none that were technically probably not solvable, but my boss was basically funding the day-to-day operations of Corin out of his pocket. And we finally got to a point where he said, I'm not ready to do this for one more year. And so last summer he pulled out. So Corin declared insolvency because basically it was being funded on a day-to-day basis by him. And so it wasn't that they borrowed money and just couldn't borrow any more money. It was just, he's funding it and he stopped funding it. So they didn't owe a bunch of money. So it's not like they put the taxpayers on the hook for a bunch of money. But when he pulled out, that was it. And they sold their IP to Linde, which is a German gas company. And Linde is proceeding. And they do have a plant over in Germany. I think my boss has extracted himself, but I think there's a little bit of entanglement still with the plant and the assets and what happens there. So that plant it's brand new, it's operational. And they were undergoing commissioning when he decided to pull out because there was a technical issue that was going to take some months to resolve, and he just said it's gone on long enough. So the text that's quoted also mentions Sun Fuels Hawaii. Sun Fuels is a company that we had and it was for the purpose of putting together Corin technology in Hawaii. And after studying this issue, and I believed that it wasn't going to be viable here, really that technology is suited for very large scale. And we couldn't build a plant large enough here really to justify. So after studying the issue for a while, we finally decided to close down Sun Fuels. Now we still have Forest Solutions, which manages our forestry assets. And we have forestry assets in Malaysia, and we manage forestry assets in different places. And currently on the Big Island here, there is a biomass to power plant being constructed, and we are involved in the supply chain and in supplying them feedstock for that plant. So that's one of the things we're involved in. Another thing, we're funding some research. I have to make a trip to New England every once in a while because we're funding some research there. I can't get into really any details there, but it's a novel method for treating biomass. And I've been in New England a couple of times a year over the past couple of years, and probably headed back soon to do another round of testing. And we think what we've got is patentable. We don't think anybody's done it before, and that's a little bit more of what we're involved in. The other thing is the man that I work for owns a German company called Lichtblick, and this is his biggest business. And this is a profitable, very big company over in Germany that he founded and has grown. And they sell only renewable energy in Europe. And they buy power like from Eastern Europe, hydropower, biogas, things like that, and resell that green power into Europe, into Germany. The other thing they've done, they've partnered with Volkswagen to put combined heat and power units in people's homes. And this is a unit, like most of those German homes have boilers in them, and they run on fuel oil, and people get a delivery of fuel oil, and so that provides their heat in the winter. Well, Germany's cold just about all year round. I mean, there's 2 or 3 months where you might not need heat at all. So what they've done is they've partnered with Volkswagen to put in Volkswagen engines, which bring in natural gas, burn that, and it will provide heat and power back to the grid. And so just a heating system is not that efficient. Just production of electricity is not that efficient. When you combine these two, it's very efficient and should be considerable savings. They've had very high number of orders, and so they're rolling all that out right now. And he's been busy with that. My boss has been over in Germany for most of the last year, and this is something that eventually we will probably take out of Germany and bring out to other markets such as the U.S., because there's places in the U.S., the northeast of the U.S., where this may make sense. Other things we're doing, we've been solicited for advice from the state government here on ag policy. We own a 500-acre ag farm on the northern tip of the island, and ag park, I mean, not an ag farm, ag park, where people can come in and they can grow vegetables on different plots of land. We have a small hydropower plant there, and we're looking at upgrading that. We're looking at putting in some solar power down there and at some different things. And so we've been solicited for advice from one of the guys that works for us advises the state on ag policy, and then we're also been asked for input on various energy policies for both the electric utility and for the liquid fuels future of Hawaii going forward. I think that about covers it. We've still got quite a lot going on, but it has shifted. We're still looking at sustainable energy. The biomass to power plant here, I think, is a pretty viable option for power at the power prices that we have here. So we've become involved in that, and we're looking at some other biomass to power projects here in Hawaii, just not the biomass to liquid fuels. We've pretty much looked at all of those options. Some of them we studied in quite a bit of depth and decided for one reason or another not to pursue. So that's an update on what we're doing, and I think that brings us to the end of this week's episode. Please tune in next week. Thank you.